Top of the morning to you. This is a little Coleman 530 stove. I believe Coleman marketed these as the GI pocket stove. The 530 itself didn't go to, wasn't used or go to World War II, but I believe the 520 was. These are really cute little stoves. They're not very high or very big. If you get a chance to get a hold of one of these in good condition, I mean, they're not even barely, they're barely 4 inches around. They're not even a foot high, 9 inches. And the normal configuration of these is the case is actually 2 little pots, and there's a little funnel, a little baby funnel, and there's a little wrench that doubles as a little handle. And let me throw the spreaders out. And that doubles as a little handle for that baby. And both sides of the case have that little hook there. Well, it says Coleman on the outside. These cases are aluminum. Usually they're pretty beat. But that's okay. People did buy these to use them. They didn't buy them to store them in their basement for 70 years. This one's in pretty good shape. The font is really great shape, and here you can see the model number and other interesting little doodads. This one has a tiny bit of rust, but not bad. It also has a tiny bit of fuel in it. More than a tiny bit. If you're gonna work on one of these are really simple to work on. The main pieces are the pump assembly, and that's actually held in by a little tiny screw. This one happens to be missing, but I've got a spare from some other trinkets. It's a pretty small screw. And it's actually kind of a little sheet metal screw with a flat head. You'll need to put some oil on that, or some neat's foot oil to lube the rubber up. I put a couple drops of oil on that. And the other thing that'll probably be a problem is the fuel fill valve lid. These things, this is the 3-piece one, and inside here is a kind of rubbery O-ring that's probably turned to rock. I stole another one. If all else fails and you can't find that seal, you can get a replacement lid. This is for a newer lantern. The stuff still fits. It's the great thing about Coleman. A lot of their stuff is universal. If you want to take this apart, it's pretty easy, really. Inside here are some little just straight head screws. You'll need a long screwdriver to put down in there, and the top of this burner will come off. That'll leave you with this part here and the valve and the clean out. Go ahead and take that nut loose there, and that's got the generator, and actually that tube right there unscrews from this little funnel. If you rattle this lid around, sometimes this deflector or heat, this is probably actually what I would consider the generator, comes out. You can take these apart. You can, it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm not even gonna bother taking the thing apart. It's so self-explanatory. What I thought would be fun to do is see if we can fire this up without a fight. So I've only done 2 things. I peeked inside there to look and see if what the fuel looked like. It looked pretty good. It's kind of a little smelly, so it's probably pretty icky. A good practice is to dump the fuel, and what I've been doing lately is putting some denatured alcohol from the hardware store. You can get it in a can of about 1/4 or a gallon. Or if you're lucky enough to have a recycling center in your area, sometimes they reclaim old chemicals. And we've got one locally, and they have a little storefront where they just give the stuff away. You can carry up to 50 pounds of stuff a day away, and they're a really great source of painting products, and alcohol is apparently one of the painting products. I'm not sure people were using it for exactly on painting, but I've pretty much quit buying a lot of stuff at the hardware store, and I usually take a trip or two a week over there and find what I can find. You're not going to get a a full gallon usually, but I've lucked out pretty good. So if you ever lit one of these, make sure this is closed. This is the clean out. You just rotate it around a couple times. There's a cam on the end of this wire, and it pushes a little brass block that runs a little rod with a pin on it to clean up in where the orifice is. Oh, a few pumps won't hurt anybody. When you pump that up, make sure you put your finger over that tiny little hole. There's a little hole there. You just put your thumb over it and then pump it up. I had a gentleman email the other day. He was trying to fiddle with a lantern, a Coleman lantern, and he wasn't getting anywhere. He said it won't hold any. First he said it wouldn't hold any air, and then he said, well, I don't think it's getting any air pressure. And I said, well, maybe did you oil this? And he said, yeah. One of the little time bombs too. We're gonna take a little side trip here. To get this out, you're gonna have to take this top off. More than likely, if you loosen this bottom part, this rod comes up and runs into the top here. A little design flaw, I think, but it's nothing major. If you're gonna go that far, you might as well just take all this stuff apart and give it a good cleaning. Anyway. I said, well, you're pumping it up, right? I said, do you feel resistance? He says, no, I don't feel any resistance. I said, well, when you take that off, pull that plunger out, inside there's a little leather bell. And he said, yeah, it's got oil on it and stuff. I said, well, are you turning that knob? And finally I said, well, you did put your thumb over that. I think he mentioned that when he was pumping it up, he could feel air. He could hear air puffing out that hole. I said, no, you have to put your thumb over. He's like, oh. So, not a biggie. If you don't have the instructions to something, you don't know how it works. Just open these a crack. You'll see raw fuel kind of fill the cup there. And we'll, what's that they yell at the Greek place when they have that cheese dessert? Is that opa? Upa? So we all. There we go. Opa. It's not as good as the Greek restaurant. I really don't open those a lot. Usually what I do is I open them a little bit and let a little bit of fuel kind of fill that funnel or burner, and then light it, and you can see the thing's starting to warm up right away. And then I shut it off and let it warm up. I have barely cracked that thing open. These things warm up and get going right away. Whee! There you go. That's all there is to that. They burn with a pretty blue flame. That one's got a tiny bit of a yellow flame up here. Probably from that fuel being bad. This is kind of a testament to how really indestructible Coleman stuff is. Very seldom does this stuff ever really break. It'll last a long time, especially if you dump the fuel out and loosen the cap. When you turn these off, they'll coast a little bit until they go out. I usually let them, they'll go out to a little flame. I usually blow it out. Because I didn't get my wish right off the bat. I have seen these with a little metal disc, and I don't know whether that's an actual kind of somebody's afterthought or if that's really a Coleman piece to these. I don't believe it is, but I'm not 100% sure. These are really easy to take apart and clean up, and they're kind of fun because of the base or the tank is plated, so you can get out some nice fine polish and polish that up and stuff. And that's really all there is to these. There's not a lot. Careful around them, they get pretty hot. Actually, they get hot enough to melt lead. If you have a little tiny ladle or crucible, these will get hot enough to melt lead. I used to do that when I was a kid. Probably explains why I have a lot of mental problems now. So there you go, the Coleman 530. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them. If you'd like to join my channel, or subscribe to it, I guess is what it technically is, that'd be great. I work on other Coleman doodads, but there are other things I fiddle with on the channel, tools and electronics and electrical devices, electromechanical. So have a great day. Take her easy.